G'day Australia, welcome to the Northern Territory, where this weekend they are celebrating the existence of the Northern Territory. Saturday night, July the 1st, was Territory Day, and the only way to celebrate Territory Day is by doing one thing you can't do anywhere else in the country, because there's nothing like the NT in the rest of the country. What's that? Well, you can let off fireworks, and when I mean anyone, I mean anyone. And fireworks that look like this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go get 'em, Fusion! Save! That was awesome.
Live from Darwin, this is Paul Murray Live, Our Town.
G'day Darwin! How good is Darwin? Welcome to the Territory on a Sunday night. Now, Cracker Night may be over, but we were able to keep some of the spoils, which of course... Did you have a good Cracker Night, a good Territory Day, everyone? Yeah! Did you blow some skinner? Yeah! Good. I've got to be careful. I've got family members here. You'll meet them a little bit later. The wonderful Luke and Zoe from Fusion Fireworks, they took care of us like royalty last night. I appreciate it. And to the financial people at Sky News, well, get ready for some fun expenses claims. No medical claims, but still some fun ones here. Now, of course, we are here in Darwin for Our Town. We love celebrating regional Australia, but there is something very special about the Northern Territory, unique about Darwin, and it's not just blowing stuff up. There's a lot more there. But Cracker Night in the NT is an institution. Are we excited that some environmentalists would like to shut it down? Just double checking with future voters. Good to hear. All right. Now, this, of course, is, as the NT News put it today, a celebration of the joyous spirit of the NT. Often on this program, we question freedom and just being yourself. Well, yesterday was the day where this part of the country does exactly that, and does so with incredible gusto. The Fusion Fireworks people, they brought in tons and tons, literally, of fireworks. They sold out of almost all of them around the joint, and it didn't matter where you were from, whether you've been here for a bit or forever. People loved it, and the photos are there to prove it in the NT News today. Now, I do have to mention that 2 men were in a serious condition after one of them decided to put a firework into a metal tube. Okay. And there was 1 or 2 fires that were set off by the fireworks. But to the lefties who'd like to shut it down, we know where you can shove it. But more importantly, one of the greatest prizes in Australian television is, of course, a Logie. But that's for lefty soft people. When you hit the big time, you know you've hit the big time in Australia, not when somebody does your portrait for the Archibald, it's when you have your face on a firecracker. Koshy didn't get that. Carl doesn't have that. And that was us, the BS Buster that was there with Fusion Fireworks last night, which is, of course, one of the many things that you saw go boom, which was so much fun to do. Oh, every moment that we look forward to this all year, and we look forward to doing it again next year. Book it in. If you get the chance, this is the weekend to be here, the 1st of July each and every year. Doesn't matter when it falls, stuff explodes in the sky. It is awesome. Come to the Territory. Now, part of our celebration of regional Australia is also trying to advocate for regional Australia, the people who live in it, the businesses that thrive in it, and the need for support from all sections of the community. And the company that we work for and work with, of course, News Corp, well, is well and truly committed to that task. So much so that it's not just supporting this show, and again, the great people of Harvey Norman who work so well with us at Sky News, but from Swan Hill to Orange to Broome and all in between, we've been lucky enough to go to, and all different parts of Australia will be celebrated in the Bush Summit, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, but it's officially launched this week, as the Bush Summit is a chance to shine a light on regional Australia. News Corp's Bush Summit this year is going to be a national event. It'll start in Tamworth, but there will be events in Perth, in Port Lincoln, in Hobart, in Wodonga and in Rocky as well. All of those, including Port Lincoln, which we're going to be going to later in the year, where I'll be swimming with the sharks, which I'm looking forward to. But the Pollies will be there, the Prime Minister will be there to better understand what is happening when it comes to the regional areas. Slight boo from the audience, but anyway, we'll move on. It is the greatest government of all time, don't forget. So, you may have heard, despite the fact that the Treasurer thinks that there is no cost of living crisis, there is nothing to see here. Well, of course, cost of living crisis remains horrific. Inflation is slightly better, but is still way worse than it was the best part of 16, 18 months ago. And obviously some retail numbers gave us some pause to think that the increase in the unemployment rate would have been enough to put off another interest rate rise. Well, the Reserve Bank and the great S-canning that they have received, surprise, surprise, the bloke who's probably going to get the high jump, and the Reserve Bank will meet again. They will do so on Tuesday, and the expectation is that they are going to increase interest rates. Now, if you ever wanted to know what an elbow dozen is, that is 11 interest rate rises since becoming Prime Minister. One of them was, of course, under the previous government, and that was, remember, a cost of living crisis. Well, what the hell do you call 11 more? And maybe the full dozen coming up on Tuesday. Mark Burris, who's made plenty of people happy when it comes to helping to finance their homes through all different businesses that he's had, he was on Sky Today, and he thinks interest rates will go up again on Tuesday.
I'm going to say there's going to be a rate hike. And the only reason I say it is because Michelle Bullock's paper out last Tuesday talked about unemployment at 4.5%. And I think the moment we start to see unemployment around 4.5% or going towards that number, or unless we see an unemployment number come out above, with a 4 in front of it,
yes.
I think they're going to keep put rates up again.
Now, 4.5% unemployment means 140,000 people will lose their job in the next 12 months, which of course adds to everything. Now, despite the fact that there are the worker shortages and 140,000 people set to lose their job on top of the others that are already here, guess what? Because, of course, the Treasury works like a Ponzi scheme, you just have to dump more people into the issue. 900,000 people will be coming to Australia from the rest of the world. They will be here permanently. But, of course, the issue is, where the hell will they live? Now, I know there's lots of options in other places, but 90% of people, when they come to the country, end up living in Sydney and Melbourne. Of those, a huge proportion end up in the outer suburbs of both of those areas. And the rental queues, well, they are getting longer as we speak. Well, we learned today that amongst all of those people that are trying to find rental accommodation in our hardest populated cities that are about to get even more people in them are 30,000 university students. Again, the Ponzi scheme of how we fund higher education when it's not the taxpayer paying for people to do 17 years of arts degrees. But anyway, well, they too are now going to be trying to look for a house. But I wanted to show you something that was on the Courier Mail's website today and in their paper, and it is about the rental Hunger Games, where less than 1% of availability is there in the rental market. And have a look at some stories, including a lady who says that she has made 800 applications for a rental property but can't get accepted. Have a look at this. This is from the Courier Mail's website, a great series called The Queensland Rental Crisis, The Hunger Games. Have a look.
10 years in the industry, I've never seen it this tight.
Spend most of your nights crying because you just don't know where you're going to be the next day.
Queensland is in the midst of a housing crisis where the competition to find a home is fierce.
Enjoy each other way out. Hello.
For the first time, agents are capping the number of people they allow to attend inspections. Some desperate renters can't even get through the door to view a home.
We gave up after applying for over 800 places and being rejected for all of them. A lot of them wouldn't even respond to the applications. Thank you.
How many have you applied for?
About 50 or more. Yeah, it's a bit deflating.
Now, these people need somewhere to live. They also need local councils to help build this stuff. They need lefties and NIMBYs to get the hell out of the way, and I'm talking about the wankers in teal seats, the ones who only expect their suburbs to grow, and I'm not joking, over the next 30 years by about 600 people. But in Western Sydney, the expectation is that their communities will have to rise, council by 110,000 people. Now, there are some solutions that are coming through, including new buildings which are full of a couple of hundred units, which you can buy, but they are not for you to live in, they are buy to rent. This is a solution that we've got to talk about more into the future. But none of this matters, you see. You see, the Australian federal government is so amazing, run by the greatest Prime Minister of all time. Just ask them, just look at the polls. Well, of course, they now have more money than they know how to spend. And this government knows how to spend an awful lot. Apparently, the federal surplus that, remember, they lucked out on because, and I'm not joking, they are now able to count in the surplus the dividend from the Future Fund, which is what Peter Costello has been managing when it comes to the public servant superannuation. So that, along with increased company taxes and mining taxes, means that they now have $20 billion more than they have plans to spend. But don't get too excited because, and you can feel the excitement in the room here in Darwin at the mere mention of the Prime Minister's name, which is, of course, that we go into deficit next year, the year after, and as far as the eye can see, with the eye-watering debt that was the reason to change the government a year ago, getting even worse and actually passing $1.4 trillion. But as for the Prime Minister giving himself a grade, well, it's elbow plus.
Our budget forecast of $4.2 billion will be exceeded. That's a result of this government's responsible economic management. The fact that we've turned a $78 billion deficit that was forecast under the Liberal National Party government just over a year ago into a surplus that's in excess of $4 billion is a positive thing. It will take pressure off inflation, and the government's been determined to do that.
Don't say it, Paul. He's coming to the Bush Summit. Don't say it, Paul. He's coming to the Bush Summit. The responsible economic management of this government. Wow! These are not the droids you're looking for. He honestly thinks he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. He could sell ice to Eskimos and EVs to a country that don't want to buy them. Anyway, well, according to the latest polls, things are looking okay for Labor. In fact, a little bit better than they were at the previous election. According to the Resolve in the Channel 9 newspapers around the country, you can see here, just look at the colours, don't look at the numbers, which is where the Labor Party did on their primary vote in the 2022 election. Have a look at your state, your place. Sadly, places like Tassie and the NT are locked in the national number. So that was then. What about now? They are, can we get the next slide? They are growing. There you go. So apparently support for the Labor Party is growing in every part of the country with the exception of Queensland. Now that's interesting because the Fadden by-election, which is coming up, and I explained last week how they did a whole hit job on Stuart Robert, the former MP, to try and maybe win a seat and take one more off the Liberal Party. Well, if their vote is starting to go backwards in Queensland, their chances of winning that seat start to go down as well. But it's very dainty the way I'm holding the pen. What you're going to see here is a better chance of the Libs holding onto that seat, but we'll wait, watch and see in the next little while. Meantime, what I've been talking about is the greatest threat to the Labor Party being to its left. Younger voters, millennials and Gen X, well, they love a lefty because they promise that everyone else will pay for you. And the Greens vote, as you can see, with that particular generation, is starting to strengthen. Now, in the seat of Griffith in Victoria, in Queensland, which of course was the former home of the former Prime Minister, another wonderful one in Kevin Rudd, well, they of course lost that seat to the Greens because the way the game works is the Greens go okay, they end up being the trampoline of preferences to get Labor up and over the line, so they can only have 1 in 3 people actually voting for them, but the preferences get them up and over the line. But if the Greens grow and Labor fall back ever so slightly, it's the Greens that leapfrog Labor, and the chances of the Greens becoming an opposition party in the country. Won't you be excited about that, Darwin? Anyway, now, we also learned today about electronic vehicles. Now, I'm a petrol head. I'm a fully accredited bogan by the Institute of Sport and UNCO as well. And I don't have a problem with electric vehicles. If you want to buy one, good luck to you. If you won Lotto recently and have enough money to purchase one, good luck to you. This will be the future, the better mousetrap, I get it. But right now, they just cost too much money. But also, if you're somebody who would like to make the change, well, there's also a little problem here. There's not many cars for resale right now that are EVs. So we don't know what the market is. We don't know how much you lose between the first purchase of $60,000, $80,000 for certain Teslas and what you might be able to purchase to be able to have the family car. Because, shock horror, people in the real world don't always buy new cars. I know that's weird to everyone watching us from the CEO suite or in the MP's lounge where you get a free car every term of Parliament. But the reality is that normal people end up, of course, having as one of the cars in their driveway a used car. But have a look here. There are about 120,000 electric vehicles on Australian roads at present, which is a small fraction of the 15 million petrol cars. 120,000 versus 15 million. Okay, good luck with this. And one of the auction houses, which launched about a month ago, expects to sell an amazing 5 to 10 EVs every month. 15 million registered cars, and this bloke set up a business. He's going to sell 5 to 10 of them every month, and 50 hybrid vehicles, and there are 1,975 EVs listed in the used car section of car sales, and that's way up from 680 in 2022 and just 300 in 2021. But good luck with that. But of course, one thing that Australia has been blessed with is the special metals that are required to put together things like lithium batteries, put together things like solar panels. Now, while I know that most of the solar panels come from slave labour in China, sorry, did I actually tell the truth just then? That's right, but still 22,000 of them a day between now and 2030, but don't tell Twitter that. Well, one person who would like us to have even more lithium mining in this country is the Indonesian Prime Minister. And Joko Widodo will be in Australia. He will be here in Australia, I think, from tomorrow. Now, if you don't know what he looks like, here he is riding a bike with Anthony Albanese. Now, I've been to the White House, I've seen how Trump does it. It's certainly not the way that Trump would do it, but what a way to show strength to China. Don't screw with us, because we're two blokes who are pushing bikes. Wow. I've got to take my helmet off. How's my hair? How are my glasses? Where's Toto? Where's Toto? That's right. I've always loved a little dog. Have you, Albo? Have you really? Methinks not. So, of course, they want us to do more mining. Now, this will be good when it comes to the budget. It'll be good for jobs. But what about the lefties who hate mining that exists currently when it comes to coal, or the people who fight against gas? Do you imagine they're going to be keen to start up lithium mining anytime soon? I would think not. Now, one thing that you see a lot, be it here in Darwin, when Alice Springs, as we were a couple of days ago, or anywhere around the country where you are lucky enough to be watching us this evening, well, of course, there are plenty of people who have the Help Wanted sign out the front of their business. There's lots of people who are telling you that there's not enough workers, as if Thanos from the Avengers movies 2 years ago went like that and 6 million people left the country. It's actually only about 300,000, but okay. As you know, there are jobs that are going offing at the moment for farm labouring, and even some of the Pacific Island workers who were brought here have now walked off the farms as well to go and do other jobs. But amazingly, despite the fact that the Help Wanted signs are out, we learned from the ABS that there are, how's this, 1.8 million Australians who are not working right now but want to work. May I suggest that some of these people might be over the age of 50 or maybe even a little closer to retirement age, but because of the stupid rules that we have about accessing things like the pension or your super early, you're not able to top up your work. It would suggest that some of these people of 1.8 million who want to work, find a job, bend the laws, let's make sure this happens. Meantime, 1 million people are ready to go tomorrow. So could somebody please tell me how we're still in a scenario where 40,000 people in Australia, a football stadium of people in Australia, have been on the dole for 10 years or longer? I'm not joking. The Help Wanted signs everywhere, 40,000 people. Now, there are, of course, the chronically unemployed or the chronically unemployable, but 40,000 people that have been on the dole after 10 years, and there's still Help Wanted signs all over the shop. We're going to make this stuff harder for people, not harder for people who are right on the edge, who've just started, but the people that are starting to take the piss 10 years in, seems to me like we're not hard enough on them. But meantime, millennials, who of course want to change our politics to being oh so woke and oh so lefty, well, they are moving at a rate of 10% of people who've quit their job and got another one in the past 12 months. The expectation of most of us that you have one job, you hold on for a while, and eventually you might get another, but there is a plan to change on the hour, every hour. Now, one of the great moments of the COVID pandemic, which thankfully the good people of the Northern Territory were able to lock themselves off from the rest of the country to deal with, was that people had to watch daily press conferences with people frankly making it up because here's a scientist standing next to me. One of those people is the Victorian of the Year, ladies and gentlemen, Brett Sutton, who said this about the Wu flu and parks.
Playgrounds are closed. Again, a difficult decision. It affects my family. It affects thousands and thousands of families across Melbourne. But as I said yesterday, the reality is there's a risk of transmission in those settings. 50 of our current cases, active cases in Victoria, are under the age of 10.
He's not coming to the Bush Summit. This bloke, he's the Victorian of the Year. He's the Victorian of the Year. What about the people whose businesses he blew away? What about the people, the kids, who of course were locked in with their abusers? This bloke stood there and signed off on madness, which all made sense in the first couple of months when we thought the blob was coming from China, or we thought that what was happening in the back hills of Italy was going to come and get us. But this was a state that locked you up for going outside, that put handcuffs on a Sheila who was pregnant. And the system, the machine, which just finds a way to remind you who's boss, says not only does that bloke get praised, not only does that bloke get the book deal, not only does that bloke get to give after-dinner speeches for the next little while, they call him the Victorian of the Year. So let's focus on something far happier, which is the Northern Territory and our dear friend Matt Cunningham, who tells us the great story behind Territory Day and why we're here this weekend.
It's the one day of the year where just about anything goes. As the sun goes down on July 1, Territorians get ready for a party like no other.
It's a special night for everyone to come together and celebrate what it means to be Territorian and what it means to live in this amazing place.
Territory Day means fireworks. There are professional displays set up at 21 locations across the NT, including the glorious Mindil Beach.
Lots of families gathering there with friends and a bit of barbecue happening. I mean, it's a perfect day in the Territory, isn't it?
But it's also the last place in the country where people can set off their own crackers. For 5 short hours, the clock turns back to the days of Guy Fawkes Night and the freedoms the rest of the country once enjoyed before the fun police arrived.
We are the last bastion of this country that we're having fun. Let's continue doing it.
There is a serious side to Territory Day. It marks the anniversary of self-government, which was granted to the NT on July 1, 1978. But for the people who live here, it's about celebrating everything that's great about the Territory, a cultural melting pot where people are happy to live and let live.
Territorians are so warm, and I think the fact that people come here from different walks of life and different places just makes it all the better.
The Territory is a different place. We're not a different territory, we're a different planet up here. Everything is different, from the climate, the weather, the people. We can do people. Yes, we've been infiltrated by do-gooders and southerners that they want to stop everything, but the majority of the Territorians, we want things to happen.
You can only buy crackers on one day of the year. On that day, dozens of shops around the Northern Territory turn into makeshift fireworks outlets where people spend hundreds, even thousands of dollars so they can blow stuff up. Now, even in this great land of liberty, there are some trying to cancel our crackers. The Lord Mayor is having none of it.
A lot of people that come here, they make a song and a dance about social issues and environmental issues, and 2 years later they go back to Melbourne, where they came from, to brag to their friends. He had this cultural trip in the Territory and he helped the poor Indigenous people to do things. No, they haven't.
It's a night like no other, in a place that prides itself on breaking the mould.
This place is different. This place is beautiful, and I love this place.
Fabulous the Territory and two ladies ladies who love it. It's certainly a lady who gets to broadcast to it each and every day. Being Katie Wolf, of course, with Mix, and of course, Lena Finocchiaro is the NT Opposition Leader. Ladies, lovely to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you for having us on the show the other day. Now, one thing that we've noticed in preparing for coming was, and even talking to people about coming to the NT, was there were some odd moments where people go, is it safe? We go, yeah, it's safe. It's not Baghdad, right? Yeah. But there's obviously issues with youth crime that we've had to talk about here. The government here says nothing to see here about the impact on tourism. Have you seen a change? Are people saying there are fewer people here now because of the perception of what's happening in the territory?
Oh, for sure. You know, I regularly catch up with tourism operators. We catch up particularly with Tourism Central Australia, and it's a massive concern for them. And I think that's pretty upsetting for a lot of Territorians because we love the place. Like, we really want this place to thrive. You don't live here because you have to. You live here because you absolutely love it. And so that's where it is. It's a sad situation, I think, that we've gone through where that crime has taken hold, not just sort of in terms of it having an impact on tourism, but just on so many aspects of life.
Leah, again, this is a feature that I obviously have a crack at in the editorial, is this sort of Jedi mind trick. These are not the droids you're looking for, right? Where government tries to turn around and say what everyone can see isn't happening. What are people saying to you about what I would see as the failures of the government to deal with these problems that means there's a flow-on?
It makes people furious because, of course, they feel like they're being gaslit by the government. And the reality is that people experience it every single day. And it is having a profound impact on tourism, as Katie said. We know an operator in Katherine who at this time last year was at 70% occupancy, is now down to 10%. We're just not seeing the caravans on the road, and it's disheartening. And this is the real impact of crime. Is it's not just a safety issue, but it's an economic issue as well. And with businesses closing their doors, it's a very sad situation for us to be in.
But on the positive, what's on the up? What's the stuff that's starting to surge or change, or that are the opportunities?
Oh, look, I think we have seen a bit of a change over recent weeks. Things seem to have calmed down a little bit. But I think the thing that's always wonderful is the place that is the Northern Territory. You know, there's so many great things to see, but I think the best thing about the Northern Territory is the people that live here. You know, you've got some of them here in the background tonight, and it is such an amazing place. And I think that what will turn the Northern Territory around is exactly that. It's the people, because we want this place to thrive. And regardless of who's in power or regardless of what's going on politically, you've got all these amazing people who, you know, run wonderful businesses like we're in tonight, who just have a really sort of innovative way of thinking. And it's still a little bit more relaxed than the rest of Australia. We're a little bit cowboy, I think, and that's what makes it great.
I love it. I mean, Leah, what's politics like in the Territory? Because you've got, obviously, party machines, public servants, establishment media, and all that, how that game works, right? Thankfully, you've got Katie to be able to speak to, sort of, to go around the gatekeepers, and she is a massive connection that means you can have a free and normal conversation. But politics in terms of actually, you know, Territorians, obviously they're not going to hold back when they say they want something out of you. But equally, I would imagine they don't like politics being pushed upon them either. So either be ready for a really short door knock or a really long door knock, but not a lot in the middle, right?
Yeah, you know pretty quickly if someone wants to have a yak to you or not. But the beautiful thing about Territory politics is our electorates are really small. So we're responsible for about 6,000 people each, which means we get to know the kids, the dog, the cat, grandma. It's a really wonderful relationship we can build with people. And that means we really understand how the community is feeling as well. And I can't tell you how much people need an injection of hope for the future, because, you know, you can sugarcoat it any way you like. We do have some profound issues at the moment, and the Territory is going backwards under Labor. But there is so much hope for the future. And yesterday, being Territory Day, is a timeless reminder of how proud we should be to be Territorian.
I like it. Katie was nodding, and then stopped when he got political, and then nodded. Look at you, you know how to play this town. She goes, oh, hang on. I'm sitting next to Paul, and I'm next to... All right, I'm going to have to say sorry to someone tomorrow. Look forward to it on the radio. We love you, Katie. Love seeing you on Sky News as well. Leah, all the best and good luck in the election upcoming. Give them a round of applause. Wonderful people representing your area. And of course, this place has had lots of different ways of selling itself to the rest of the country, like this from a little while ago.
The Territory has come so far, we made it on our own. Times have changed, and through the years, it's the strength that we've shown. We built the Territory with ups and downs, up and down the track, and in the
spirit has proved that no matter what the obstacle, we can achieve together. The development of our land in the past 10 years is for all to see. Our roads, housing, businesses are an achievement we can all be proud of.
Now, to tell you how much I love the Territory, I put some skin in the game, and the most important skin in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please put your hands together for my girls, Asha and Zadie Murray. Here they are in the flesh. Thumbs up, hi, a little wave for everyone. Hi, how are you? Now, after this show, Caleb Bond's going to take over Paul Murray Live for a week, and we're going to spend our time getting around the Territory. But how's this? When we were in Dubbo, you got to play with an alpaca. Well, how's this, ladies? Tyson from Crocodilius has got a crocodile for you to play with. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not bad. Yourself?
Excellent. I love what you guys do. We're going to come and see you in the next couple of days with the girls. We're going to go swimming and all the rest. But can they pat a crocodile?
Most certainly. Girls, this is Fluffy. He's not very fluffy, is he? No. You want to give him a good pat?
All right. What does he feel like, Ash?
Very scaly.
Scaly? All right.
Scaly.
What does he feel like?
I agree with
What about you touch his tummy? His tummy's nice and soft.
Touch his tummy. Soft like Daddy's tummy.
There you go.
How cool is that? How old is Floppy?
Well, Fluffy would be about
Floppy. Not yet, I hope.
Hopefully not. Fluffy would be about 2 to 3 years old, but like I say, it's pretty hard to work out how old he is. Every time I ask him, he doesn't exactly tell me, so it makes that a little bit harder.
That's cool. So how long have you worked for the park now?
I started volunteering for about 4 years or so now, and then been on the books for about a year and a half now. So just a lot of hard work to get to where I am now, I suppose, mate.
Well, congratulations. As I say, we look forward to coming and doing it. Obviously, people can do in the swimming experience. Come on, give him a go. Hey!
Oh, he's a little bit wriggly, this one.
What did you say to him, Zadie? Did you say something to him? You didn't say a swear word, I hope.
Did you make your bed this morning?
All right, so yeah, well, we're looking forward to coming in and being there as well. What do they eat, by the way, apart from little girls?
Pretty much anything at the water's edge.
Yeah, anything at the water's edge, so don't go anywhere near it, OK? Can I put my hand in it and see what happens? No, don't worry, it's not going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, my beautiful girls, thank you. Can I have a little touch? Oh, look at his eyes. See his eyes? His eyes are very cool. That's great. That's very cool. All right, wave to the cameras. Say goodbye to Australia. Say goodbye, Australia. Go. Yep. All right, excellent. Now, who do you like, Donald Trump or... No, I won't ask that question. All right. Sorry, darling. All right, quick break. Back with more here on Paul Murray Live in Darwin. Give me a round of applause. Give me cuddles, kisses. Love you. Welcome back to Darwin. Having a good time. Ripping and roaring here at the Landmark. God love them, good people. It's going to be a big night here. Now, of course, there's plenty to do in Darwin, apart from what we've just shown you. And the bloke who's best to tell you about it is Matt Cunningham, who, as I say, in my view, is one of the best reporters in the country, one of the best at Sky News, and absolutely loves this place. He's had offers to go everywhere, but he says, no, I'm staying here because I love it and I want you to see it too.
Welcome to beautiful tropical Darwin. As the winter cold sets in down south, this vibrant tropical city is bathed in glorious sunshine. This is my town, and I'm going to show you some of the best the top end has to offer. We start about an hour out of Darwin on a river cruise with a difference. The Adelaide River is home to more than 7,000 saltwater crocodiles. And we're about to get a close-up look at these prehistoric predators.
We do a 1 hour jumping crocodile cruise, experience crocodiles in the wild.
Adelaide River Queen Cruises have been operating the original jumping crocodile tour for 38 years.
People sort of don't understand the power of what they can do. You see them in zoos, you see them in the Daintree, and Daintree's beautiful. If we didn't have crocodiles, you wouldn't come out here. But getting up close with anything up to 5 metres is amazing.
It isn't long before we've got a 5-metre monster lurking nearby. You won't find a better place to get up close and personal with a saltwater crocodile than right here on the Adelaide River. But one word of advice, when you're looking for that perfect pick, make sure you keep everything inside the boat.
I respect him every day. He stays in the water, I'll stay in the boat. Beautiful.
Touring in the top end can be thirsty work, but even in this sparsely populated country, a cool drink is never too far away.
Now, you can find a pub in just about any town in this country, but I guarantee you, you won't find another pub like this.
Hey, mate.
Sony, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
What's going on?
Not much.
Yeah?
Want a beer?
Oh, yeah, won't say no.
Yep.
Ian and Leah Sloan run the Berry Springs Tavern, serving up classic pub meals all day long to hungry travellers.
When we first opened the doors, we sat here and we looked out at that road and wondered where the people would come from.
But come they did, and it wasn't just for the beer.
Now, mate, some pubs have beer gardens.
Boring.
Tell us what you got here.
Well, this is our little farm here. So we've got a couple of emus. We've got a deer, Elliot. He's about 2 years old now. And we've got a 5-metre crocodile.
A croc?
Yeah.
This croc used to live in a remote Indigenous community, but he had to be removed after he started stalking school children.
He was captured, brought into town to the crocodile farm where he was a breeder. But as a breeder, he had a few anger issues and he was killing all the females.
So what do you do with a 5-metre croc that's too dangerous for a crocodile farm? You put him out the back of the pub, of course.
Whose idea was it to put a 5-metre crocodile out the back?
You know, that was Ian's idea, and he did that without my permission. It was a bad idea, just saying. Although, look, you know, it's proven to be successful and very popular.
Our animal adventure continues at the Territory Wildlife Park.
We've got a range of our top-end native species. Predominantly, that's what we have on display. That includes a range of birds, mammals, reptiles.
Relax, he says. He's telling me to relax. Right now, he's telling me to relax. Nah, enough. That's enough. No, take it. Serious, take it.
One of the highlights here is the flight deck presentation, featuring birds of prey in their natural environment.
There's a lot of sort of people with pet birds out there, but most people don't have pet raptors. And to be able to see that up close is pretty cool.
Back in the city, there's a new tourist attraction that's starting to make waves. 007 Adventures runs guided jet ski tours of up to 1 hour in Darwin Harbour. This is fast and furious action and a great way to blow off some steam at the end of a busy day.
I think it's the best way to see the coastline. You know, you don't often get a chance to just really chill out in the water and look back at the city, and seeing the sunset over the city is a pretty special experience.
It's a sunset so spectacular, hundreds of people show up to watch it while enjoying the food and festivities of the Mindel Beach markets. This is a place that encourages anyone who wants to have a crack, and as the sun sinks into the water, you have to wonder why you'd want to be anywhere else.
Matt Cunningham is one of my favourite humans, and he's such a special asset for us at Sky News. We love him. Now, there is a hot podcast that is taking the Territory by storm. May it go national and then international, and then eventually will an alien hear it somewhere on the other side of planet Zutroid. I don't care, but the Mum's Gone Troppo podcast is what we're talking about. Molly and Kathleen are behind it. Lovely to see you. Hello. So, experience in old school media, and now we're into the new world of podcasting. Yeah. Where did the idea come from to talk about what's it like to be a parent in the Territory?
Oh, purely Molly has the credit for that. Just called me out of the blue one day.
I did. I was like, I want to talk about how good the Territory is. I want to talk about how good raising kids here is. I want to talk about how good having a family up here is, how good the weather is, how good life is up here. And I said, you know who I think would be good to do it with? And I rang her on a day off, and I
Here we
didn't
are.
take... I can sell ice to the Eskimos. You think Albo can do it? I can also do it.
Can you sell a $20 billion surplus? It's good economic management. Anyway, we'll get to that later. But when you put it together, it is an overtly positive piece of media, right? And that's what I like, is that, you know, that, OK, there's lots of cranky bastards like me every now and then, and there's obviously the stuff that's around, right? But also, I think, and this is part of why we do what we do, which is that people also want some good news, some positivity, some fire up and some reinforcement. How important is it to try to keep it as realistic as possible, but also positive and not about the stuff that people like to fight about?
And that's the big thing. We wanted to talk about why people want to raise their families here, why we're choosing to raise our families here. I'm born and bred Darwin, love it. Imported a husband, having my child here as well. So we wanted to talk. We wanted to talk about why we love the Territory, but talk to incredible women predominantly as to their stories, because there are incredible people here, not just women, but incredible people. And so some of the stories are tragic and quite emotional as well, but you know, talking about what we love about the Northern Territory. That's right, and the challenges that you have to go through raising a family.
So it's that thing, and again, just no disrespect to the people that you used to work for, but obviously the types of stories you can tell on telly or in a newspaper, they're different now. Does this give you a freedom to tell a different story?
Absolutely, and I think the non-visual media is really exciting as well. You know, we've captured a whole different audience of mums who are walking their pram or, you know, going to the gym, and you don't have to sit down and read something or watch something. Yeah. So, and I think overall, the feedback we've got is it's like, oh, finally, something for us, something. And we don't just have mums listening. We know that there's a whole group of dads. We know that there's a whole group of Southerners and people on the eastern state that listen to us, and we're very grateful.
Moved away, perhaps, as well. Who miss the territory.
Just say GST providers. Call them GST providers.
And like just being able to tell positive stories, that there isn't just the negative news coming out of the territory.
Correct.
And we love living here, and there's a reason for it.
Because this is my thing, and again, part of why we're here tonight, why I love talking about the territory and we talk about it so much, why I love Matt and what he does, is, yes, OK, there's a lot of very serious stories here, but I kind of hate that the only reporting outside of the territory about the territory is either silly crocodile story or horrible stuff happening on the fringes of town. There's a whole world of stuff in between that you've got to talk about, but also a phenomena we need to discuss is a particular phenomena that is a psychological phenomena that is somewhat exclusive, mango madness.
Oh,
yeah. So this is frankly
we've all been there.
Explain mango madness to us Southerners.
Yeah, when the heat just gets too much and that sweat's dripping down your back and you just can't hack it anymore. And sometimes when there's a full moon, yeah, you just boil over.
And nothing he does is good enough, and you're just like, you have to remember that, no, it's just really bloody hot.
Yeah.
I love you, but it's really hot. I can't deal with it. And you turn that aircon on and all of a sudden it's great. Or you just go for a quick trip down to Melbourne.
So I was going to say, is his solution for mango madness, I'm going fishing, love?
My husband is 100%.
Just check out, out he goes. What does yours do?
Much the same.
Yeah. Especially if you're saying, I don't care, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
All right, so again, people can get this. They can get it in all of the usual podcast places. Is there socials, website? Where's the one spot you want people to learn more, launch off, sign up, and be part of it?
We're pretty active on our Instagram
and
most,
Facebook, and you know, we want people to give us their mango madness stories. We've got stories, but we want to hear everyone else's, and you know, other people who we don't know through our connections and aren't necessarily well known as well.
Yeah. When's your husband giving you the shits? That's the general theme at times. For 3 months a year. All right, ladies, thank you very much. Give them a round of applause. Go for it. It is the Don Troppo podcast. Thank you very much, guys. Awesome to see you. All right, quick break, back with more. AFL football was in Alice Springs today. We were there yesterday, and we'll tell you what happened. Landmark. We are having a great night here in Darwin. Please come up here for Territory Day. First weekend, of course, in July or any time you want to. It's very good. Now, of course, Katie Page and Jerry Harvey at Harvey Norman, they are incredible supporters of ours. They make our town possible, and I can't thank them enough for what they're able to do. So we're able to go around and showcase this great country, but also they support so many other incredible things, like there was an incredible game of AFL football that took place today in Alice Springs. Not a practice, not a pre-season, but of course mid-season. It was one heck of a tight match between GWS and Melbourne. It ended up that GWS won by 2 points, and we actually spent the day in Alice ahead of this match yesterday. Have a look. 2 hours that way, that way, that way, or that way. All roads lead to Alice Springs. See? Get it? Very subtle metaphor. But also, this place can surprise, including it's really cold. In fact, it's colder here today than it is in Melbourne. The other surprise? There's AFL football. Not pre-season, real footy in the middle of a season. A game between the GWS Giants, sponsored by our dear friends at Harvey Norman, and the Melbourne Demons. Now, this is a perfect example of what we love about sport. When big-time sport is brought to regional areas, a place where people don't just have something to look forward to, but an event that they will never forget. How important is it that regional Australia gets to see top flight footy like this that people in the cities take for granted?
So, you know, we've been supporting regional sport since the 90s. It's really important that communities actually get to see the players, see a live game. Even though I sell televisions, right? It's actually really good being here. And tomorrow at the game, you're going to see thousands of people lined up with their kids, with family. This is community. And, you know, for us to be able to bring and sponsor GWS to come to Alice Springs, and as you go around, everyone's got their GWS scarves on, caps on.
Literally, as the team bus pulled up, there were a bunch of kids here. The smile was like they were at the Easter show or at Disneyland, like they were seventh heaven.
But that's right, people in the city get so much.
Yeah, spoiled.
Right? And, you know, we call Sydney LA, right, for example, because they've got so much. But you come to these communities and they don't get to see this. To be able to see Toby, to see their hero players, and to be able to be so close.
This has been one of my favourite bits of footy, community. The chance for people to come from wherever, and some people have travelled a very long way, for the chance to meet the players. And you can see these blokes that have seen it all, from grand finals to the fullest of MCGs, to see smiles and very happy people that they are here. You can tell this means something to them as well.
Oh, it's awesome. You know, you can already feel a bit of the buzz around the place, and, you know, having local community come down and support us. You know, some have travelled far, so it's pretty cool. Myself and the team are really excited to play here. It's a great opportunity for us, and again, hopefully the locals enjoy having us here.
What's it like to play in a place like this where you know that this is a very big deal? It's not, you know, footy with multiple clubs, multiple venues every single week. This is a real highlight of the year.
It's great for us and the AFL to play games down here and get around the community. Obviously, you know, they love football here, and there's very limited, you know, AFL games here as well. I think they only play one a year, so it's a big deal for us as well, just to get down here and get around the community and just embrace the supporters.
God love you, Darren. All right, before we go, a couple of interesting fellas I want you to meet. Gary, of course, is a man who knows everything about the bombing of Darwin. This is his book, and he'll show you around the place with plenty of historic sites. As the anniversaries rack up, the interest does too, doesn't it?
It certainly does, Paul, and everyone's interested year around, I should say, but certainly that day. Yeah.
So it's this thing where, I mean, the history is one that school kids want to know about, but obviously people who would remember, people who had either lived through it or family members that had served in and around Darwin as well. Give me some of the things that people get to see when they go on this great tour.
Yeah, absolutely. And for a start, the guys up here are from all points of Australia, from Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, doesn't matter. So it's Australia-wide. And they get a chance to see all the relevant sites around town, and they've got the stories too.
Good stuff. All right, Bombing of Darwin Tours. That's his book. Gary, thank you very much.
No worries.
All right, and as always, we like to do a meat tray. I've got two special blokes. Ladies and gentlemen, my father Ken, his brother Phil, the Murray boys. Hello, hello, hello. All right, now, here we go. An official duty. You can hold, he draws. All right, go for it. And then you can call it. All right, KR. All right, here, what do we got?
Oh, hang on. We got...
Red?
Red. A88, I think. I forgot my glasses.
Red A89. Who's got 89? Congratulations, you got the meat tray. Uncle Phil, if you want a good real estate agent in and around Corrimal, here he is. If you want a great bloke, none other than KR. Love you, boss. Give me a handshake. Come on, love you. All right. Thank you, boys. Do appreciate it. That's our show from Darwin. Thank you very much, everyone. Come to Darwin, come to Darwin, come to Darwin, come to Darwin. Here's the Royal Report.